There's a good chance he's going to win the Heisman, guys. This is a playoff game, and I cannot wait to see this play out. Vegas, I know that you build those big buildings for a reason, but 2.5? Haynes King on senior day? What is happening right now? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
Touchdown. These fans are the best in the country. A day like today is why we love college football.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome into the program. This is the Joel Klatt Show. I am Joel Klatt. This show is brought to you by Graduate by Hilton. We thank them for their support, as always. Always a pleasure when I get to go to these college towns and stay in a Graduate. You should as well. We've got a huge show for you here today. Picks and previews, and we're getting down to it. There's only 2 weeks to go in the regular season here, so there's only 2 guaranteed weeks so you can build a resume towards the college football playoff. And I know I say this every single episode, and I do it with a purpose, and it's because you and I both know that this sport is the best, and this playoff has made it even better. I fully believe that. All these games, all the games that have meaning now and have purpose versus prior to this 12-team playoff, I got to tell you, I have been so excited about the sport in general, and the playoff has only enhanced that. I hope that that's the case for you as well. Hey, if you have not subscribed to the show, please do so. Get over there to YouTube. You can subscribe to the show. You can hit the notification button. You can jump down in the comments. I get down there in the comments occasionally and mix it up a little bit. I love doing that, and I will tell you that we've got a great cross-section of fans that get down there and talk, I think, in a pretty good way about college football. So get down there to this YouTube page. Also on social, wherever you like to social, you can follow us on social media at Joel Klatt Show. So we're out there, all of our content in shorter form. And today we've got picks and previews. So cannot wait for that. Let's start with the game that I'll be at. Okay, so Big Noon Saturday is going to be live from Columbus. I feel like I need an apartment in Columbus after all these years. But yes, I'll be back in Columbus. Gus, Jeannie, and I have the call as Rutgers goes to Columbus to take on the number 1 ranked Ohio State Buckeyes. Now, for this Ohio State team, there are some questions right now surrounding health and status, namely of what I would consider their 2 best offensive players, Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith. And both of these guys have, been a little banged up. Carnell Tate has not played in their last 2 ball games, going back to the Purdue ball game. Jeremiah Smith played a little bit in that first half against UCLA, and then was seen limping off the field after halftime. And, we're kind of told that this is somewhat precautionary. I do believe that that's the case. Their status for this game, unclear. So it could mean that we're going to see a lot of young players, guy like Quincy Porter, who Jeremiah Smith has told me, hey, like, he's the next great one at Ohio State. Obviously, Brandon Inniss, a guy that has to step up and play really well. Mylan Graham. There are guys that they've recruited that are all top 50 players in their class, by the way. This has always been one of the deepest, best position rooms in the country. And we get to see that on display potentially on Saturday as Ohio State will take on Rutgers. Now, their quarterback has played some of the best football in the entire country this year. Julian Sayin has been outstanding. He's on pace right now to break the single-season completion record. He's at 80% right now. He is playing at a ridiculously high level. His processing speed is high. His release time is quick. He is really good in the pocket. The ball is very rarely in harm's way. He throws with good leverage and accuracy, all of the things, gets them into the right play. There's a good chance he's going to win the Heisman, guys, because it seems like, or it looks like, he's on a collision course to face Indiana in the Big Ten championship game, where he gets to play not directly against, but they get to play against Fernando Mendoza. If they win that game, Heisman votes are due the next day. Like Julian's saying, he's likely going to win this thing. If they can beat Rutgers, if they can beat Michigan, if they can beat Indiana, he would be right there. Now, Ohio State defensively, that's really the strength of their team. As we know, I've been talking about it all year. They've been giving up 7.5 points per game through 10 games. That's 8 touchdowns allowed in 10 games. It's stupid how good they are. I mean, it really is. They're good up front. Their defensive line is excellent. They've got the best linebacker core in the country. I heard a couple of people. I'm sorry, I'm laughing. I heard a couple of commentators during their games suggest that other teams have the best linebackers in the country. And I'm like, tell me you don't watch Ohio State without telling me you don't watch Ohio State. The combination of Sonny Styles and Arvell Reese is hands down the best combination of linebacker play in America. Full stop. It's not particularly close, although OU does have a very good set of linebackers who have been excellent. That defense is excellent. It's one of the best defenses in college football, but my goodness, like let's be very honest about what we're seeing with this defense. Oh, and by the way, they've also got Caleb Downs behind them at safety, and he's one of the best players, if not the best defender in all of college football. So that defense is elite. Now, can Rutgers challenge them on the ground? Antoine Raymond has been really good, and he's a semifinalist for the Doak Walker Award. Against Maryland, he ran it. He, not them. He singularly ran it 41 times for 240 yards. I mean, get the ice bath ready. I love this type of an effort. And their offensive line, by the way, on film, they do a nice job. They're physical up front. You can tell it's a Greg Schiano team. This Rutgers team has been decimated by injuries throughout the entirety of the year. They're playing with a lot of backups and third stringers. But I got to tell you, this Antoine Raymond, I'm excited to watch him play and carry the football. Ethan Kaliak-Manis is their quarterback. He's starting his 41st career game. So he's a guy that's not going to be overwhelmed by the setting and the environment. He's thrown to two really good wideouts, KJ Duff and Ian Strong, both top 5 in receiving in the Big Ten. So Rutgers has some things now. This is not a bad football team, but they go to Ohio State. That's the game that I'll be at. By the way, last week we were 4-2 on picks, and let's get into those picks right now. We were, by the way, 8-2 over the last 2 weeks. We're now 28-33 on the season, so just 5 games below 500 and creeping towards that 500 mark. So here we get into these picks, and I got to tell you, folks, there's some interesting lines this week, and they've got me thinking, and candidly got me a bit nervous because I was thinking one way on a few of these games, and I saw the line, and I'm like, hold on a second. You know, like, what does Vegas know that I don't know? So we'll get to those in a moment. Let's first talk about this game up at Oregon as USC is going to go take on the Oregon Ducks. Now, the line's 9.5. Oregon, of course, sitting at 7. USC sitting at 15. I think this is a de facto playoff game, candidly, because if USC wins, they will almost certainly be the 10th team in the country next week when the playoff rankings come out. That 10 spot is a vital spot because that's really the cutoff to get into the playoff. You've got the 11th and 12th spot going to get taken up by the group of 5 and the ACC champion. And that 10th spot is basically going to be the last spot. If they beat Oregon, I think Oregon falls to 11, and I think USC goes up to 10. Therefore, this is like a playoff game. This is a playoff game, and I cannot wait to see this play out. USC is having a great season. I really believe that. Picking up a couple of really nice wins and grinded out games against Nebraska and last week against Iowa in the rain. They beat Michigan at home. They have shown the ability to do things that they previously have not shown the ability to do, namely win a physical, non-passing oriented game, and now they can do that. And they're going to have to do that against Oregon. Oregon knows a loss in this game is going to put their playoff position in a really precarious spot. So you get Oregon's full attention. You know Dan Lanning is going to talk about that. I don't know if there is a better motivation coach in America than Dan Lanning, and he will have his team ready to play. Now, full stop, 30,000-foot view, bad matchup for USC. It just is. Last week, I told you it was a good matchup for Oklahoma going against Alabama. It was a good matchup for Georgia going against Texas. And right here, I'm telling you, this is a good matchup for Oregon going against USC. And specifically because Oregon can run the rock. That's what USC has struggled with. We saw them struggle with it mightily against Notre Dame. We saw, even in wins, them give up a lot of rushing and yards rushing at like Nebraska. Michigan even ran for a lot of yards. Like, this is not a great matchup because Oregon is the number 2 team in the country in yards per carry. Number 2, which means they're a better rushing team per carry than Notre Dame. And we know what Notre Dame did against this USC team. The only team that's better than Oregon in terms of yards per carry running the football is Navy. So they're the best in the Power Five. Like, they have also the number one pass defense in the country. USC has struggled on the road. Now they've got to go to Autzen, one of the toughest places to play in the country. And now you see why it's 9.5. It is a bad matchup for USC. And I know I said that last week against Iowa. And you know what? Give a lot of credit to USC for winning that game because they got down 21-7 and came all the way back. And can they channel that? And can they continue to grow and continue to develop? Do they cover the 9.5? Can USC's defensive line win against Oregon? They have not had sacks lately, none against Iowa, only 10 in the last 7 games, only 3 in the first half of those games. And, to me, that plays into game style. They have to have the lead so the other team is throwing it so that they can get the sacks. If Oregon takes the lead and starts to lean on the run game like Notre Dame did against USC, then I think USC could have some problems. Oregon is still banged up at wide receiver. DeCorian Moore, Gary Bryant, questionable for this one. They do get their tight end back, who I think is not only a great receiver, but also a terrific blocker. That's going to help them in the run game. Kenyon Sadiq, he's back. And Dante Moore. They still have Dante Moore. I expect USC is going to score some points, but just not enough. Lincoln's offense has been really good at running the football. They've been great throwing the football. Mekhi Lemon and Jacoby Lane at wide receiver. They're more balanced. I love what USC is doing. I just don't love them in this game. And on the road, I'm going to have to lean towards Oregon, and I think a 10-point victory is not out of the question. So I've got Oregon 31-21. They cover the 9.5. I know I took Iowa to cover, and I took the points last week. That ends up hitting, even though USC was able to win. I think Oregon wins this game by 10, and really this is a game that they have to have, so they'll play well. All right, next one, BYU at Cincinnati. BYU is ranked number 11 in the country. Cincinnati has not looked great as of late, and this line is only 2.5 towards BYU. What? I'm sorry. I saw that. So just so you know, and I think I've said this before on the show, I always kind of think about the game. I talk about the game with Steve and Steve and I, and he'll be like, well, what do you think the score is? And I was like, I don't know, 14. I think that BYU wins it by 12 or 14. And he's like, what if I told you the line was 2.5? I was like, what? What am I missing? What is happening right now? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. I feel like Mugatu just ran into the room. BYU looked great last week. They control their own destiny for the playoff. They continue to win. They win the Big 12 championship. They're in the CFP. They were balanced last week against TCU. I know they've been better at home than they have been on the road. They had a tight game against Colorado on the road, but won. They had a tight game against Arizona on the road, but won. They played really well against Iowa State and then got beat by Texas Tech. But if you watch the game that they played last week, no, 2.5. What are we doing? I've got to give Kalani Sitake a lot of credit. He's 20-3 since the start of last season. We talk about Curt Cignetti and his record. Nobody talks about Kalani Sitake and his record. 20-3. Only 3 teams with a better record are Ohio State, Indiana, and Oregon. That's the only 3 in all of college football. This guy gets it done. I was so impressed with what they did against TCU because of the balanced nature that they did it. They were able to throw it with Bachmeier on some series. They were able to run the football with L.J. Martin. L.J. Martin is outstanding. Their defense is aggressive. They are physical. They're old. BYU is always old. This is the same team as Utah and beat Utah. They have the same philosophy. They have the same players. Kalani Sitake grew up and cut his teeth as a coach under Kyle Whittingham at Utah. And you know what Utah did to Cincinnati just a couple of weeks ago? Back-to-back losses. They were blown out at Utah by, 30? Then they lost at home to Arizona last week. I know that they want to run the ball, Cincinnati, and Sorsby has been good, and I think it's been a solid season. But, come on. 2.5? What are we talking about? The line, what am I missing? BYU, I like them winning this game. I think Bachmeier is getting better as the season goes along. He does not play like a true freshman. He didn't play like a true freshman last week. That was a tremendous bounce back after the loss to Texas Tech. And you see the nature and the character of a team with how they play when they come back and play the next week. Bachmeier was terrific. The run game was terrific. The pass game was terrific. The defense was terrific. He was 23 of 33 for 355 total yards and 2 total touchdowns. I can't do it. Cincinnati loses to Arizona at home. And I just like BYU in this one. At 31-24, I'm coming back to you 7 points there. I thought it was going to be 14. I will come towards the line 7, and I'm still covering the 2.5. Like, come on. BYU 31, Cincinnati 24. BYU is giving 2.5. I don't understand that. I don't understand that at all. Absolutely give the 2.5. What's up, Klatt Show fans? If you're looking for something fun to do or a great holiday gift idea for your friends and family, look no further than SeatGeek. With over 35 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. There are more than 70,000 events listed, including concerts, sports, festivals, and more. I personally love using SeatGeek for tickets to games with my boys because I know that SeatGeek has my back. Each ticket has a rating, a scale of 1 to 10. So you know if you're getting a good deal. Green dots mean great deal. Red dots maybe keep looking. Plus, every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee. And of course, I have a code for you. Guys, here's what you do. You use code CLAT10 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with promo code CLAT10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app, and you can have that code automatically added to your account so you can use it later on in that app, SeatGeek. And thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring today's show. All right, big one in the SEC, Missouri and Oklahoma. Number 22, Missouri. Number 8, Oklahoma. Oklahoma is favored by 7.5. Oklahoma coming off that huge win over Alabama in Tuscaloosa, now sitting in such a great spot, kind of pole position, controlling their own fate towards a playoff berth. I think the only thing that gets Oklahoma beat in this ball game is complacency. It's a look ahead. It's looking at LSU. It's thinking about everything that is not Missouri. Could you potentially have a game in which you're like, don't get their full attention because of the win last week? Here's why I don't think that that's the case. Number one is Brent Venables is an intense guy, so he will have that intensity towards his team this week. Plus, after last week, it's no longer a hypothetical of, hey, if you win, you're in. Like now, it is right in front of all of these OU players. They are inside of the top 10. They control their own fate, and all they have to do is win the next 2 football games. You got 120 minutes of football, Sooners, and you're in the playoff. After looking at that schedule to start the year and thinking to yourself, man, this is going to be very difficult. And here it is in front of you. If I told all of the Sooner fans and all the Sooner players that you're going to face Missouri late in the season, you're going to be 8-2 and you control your own fate to the college football playoff, every one of you would take it. Every one of you would take it. Now, obviously, everyone wants to win every single game, but let's keep the main thing here. Getting into the dance is the most important thing, and here it is for OU. So that's why I don't buy into this letdown type of narrative after the big win against Alabama. I don't think that happens. The only path for Mizzou is to grind it out on the road, or on the ground. Ahmad Hardy, criminal at Mississippi State, going against Zollers, who's a third-string quarterback from Missouri, allowed Ahmad Hardy to go for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns last week. Gross, Mississippi State. That's the only thing that you had to defend. Gross. What are you doing? You think Oklahoma is not going to focus on Ahmad Hardy? Now, there's some speculation that Prebula is back and starting to practice a little bit. Even if he goes, he's not going to be 100%. So you get the full throat of the OU defense focused on Ahmad Hardy. I firmly believe this is one of the best defenses in all of college football. They stop the run. They get after the passer. They stop the pass. It was a bad matchup for Alabama. And guess what? They bring in a top 10 run defense into this matchup. They're one of the best teams in terms of getting to the quarterback as well. They're going to make life difficult. Their linebackers are terrific. They're fast. If you watch that game against Alabama, you know that this team is for real. Now, granted, offensively, we don't know what we're going to get from week to week. And is it great? Probably not. But as Mateer gets more healthy and he turns into more of the Mateer that we saw against Michigan, then watch out. So the 7.5, OU covers that all day long. The defense is consistent. I don't see a letdown in this ball game. How is Missouri scoring more than 10 points? I don't see it. Unless Mateer goes out there and starts throwing picks all over the place, and I don't foresee that either because he's too veteran and he's too experienced. OU 24, Missouri 10, OU covers the 7.5 and continues to roll, and then they play LSU with a spot in the playoff on the line. All right, last one here is Pitt at Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech ranked number 16. They're favored by 2.5. What? 2.5? Georgia Tech's favored by only 2.5. This is another one. What's happening right now? I don't understand this. I don't understand this. This one maybe even more so than that BYU Cincinnati. Now, maybe Vegas is thinking to themselves, maybe they're thinking to themselves like, well, Joel, it is an ACC game, so Pat Narduzzi is going to actually focus for this one. Huh? The world was he saying last week? I don't care if Notre Dame scores 110. That is like a excuse grenade that you pull the pin and just like lob it into your locker room. Goodness gracious. Georgia Tech can clinch a spot in the ACC championship game with a win. Haynes King on senior day against a freshman quarterback in Heinzel, who did not play well against Notre Dame. Come on. Like, Vegas. I know that you build those big buildings for a reason, but 2.5? Haynes King on senior day? Guy's an absolute warrior. Look at his total offense the last 3 games. 424, 511, 395. He leads the country in total offense this year at 341. And by the way, if you're just wondering about Georgia Tech and it's like, well, are they really good? Georgia Tech leads the country in yards per play. Yeah. Not Ohio State, not USC. No, not Indiana, Georgia Tech. How we doing? Georgia Tech at home, 4 of their 5 wins have been by at least 15 points. And the only close game was a win over Clemson earlier in the year when we all thought, including me, dang it, that Clemson was actually good. This feels like Georgia Tech's moment. It feels like Haynes King's moment, and it does not feel like Pitt's moment. It doesn't at all. Pitt's moment shows up in the future when Miami goes up to Pitt, and then Pitt can play the role of spoiler. That's Pitt's moment. This ain't it. Not with Haynes King on the prowl. No. I like Georgia Tech 30-17 and cover the 2.5. That's an easy one. All right, so here's the picks. Let's recap them and we'll get out of here. I look at this and I really love Oregon at home. I would give those 9.5. I think SC is going to struggle against the run. They're going to struggle a little bit offensively against the Ducks' really good defense. So I'm going to give the 9.5 there. I've got BYU on the road covering the 2.5. I don't understand that line at all. Not at all. I mean, you tell me I can take BYU after their complete game over TCU after Cincinnati just lost to Arizona, and all I have to do is give 2.5. Yep. OU at home, given 7.5. I love that because Missouri is not going to score a lot of points. I don't see them getting past 10 points, and OU will do enough offensively. I'm gonna cover that 7.5. I'm going to take OU all day, and then Georgia Tech and Pitt. Like I don't understand. Tech is great at home. 4 of their 5 they've won by 15 or more, and they're at home facing a Pitt team that had an excuse grenade launched into their locker room by their head coach last week. Absolutely. Give the 2.5, take Georgia Tech. Those are the picks. All right, not a pick or a preview, but I did want to give some of my thoughts here on some of the coaching news that we've gotten this week. Namely, James Franklin looks like he's agreeing with Virginia Tech. I really think that's a good fit. I've constantly said on this program that you've got to have the right fit and the right person in order to reach the potential at your school. And I think James Franklin at Virginia Tech fits. Listen, he's an excellent football coach. It had run its course at Penn State. And I think he even understood that at the end. And they were looking for like the smallest percentage to get over the hump of those top 5 matchups. They had played for a Big Ten title last year. They went to the national semifinal. Like, this guy can absolutely coach. So I think Virginia Tech, they honestly jumped some teams here. I firmly expected one of these SEC teams, with James's history in the SEC having success at Vanderbilt. I thought Auburn would come after him. I thought wherever Lane Kiffin didn't go, whether it was LSU or Florida, that they would, kick the tires on James Franklin because he's an excellent coach. I know that the rap about those big games is going to haunt him, but he knows how to build a program. And now he's in a position where at Virginia Tech, he's been at Vandy, he's been at Penn State. It's a similar player. He can recruit that corridor. I think it's I-95, maybe, something along those lines. In the DMV and all those areas, that's where he has done a really good job throughout his career, getting players and allowing them to succeed. He can still recruit in New Jersey and some of these areas where he had a lot of good players end up going to Penn State. So I like this fit. I like it a lot. I think James Franklin is going to have an opportunity to build Virginia Tech back into a perennial contender in the ACC. That's not a very tough league. We're starting to see that pan out. Clemson is down right now. Florida State is down, might make a move. Miami is struggling with 2 losses here this season. We'll see if they can get themselves, in. Georgia Tech is going to be missing Haynes King moving forward. Good time to go into the ACC for James Franklin. All right. Now some other news in coaching, and this one was an interesting one. It was about Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. And there was some speculation or news that it had been reported that they gave him an ultimatum. And that they said, hey, by the Egg Bowl, you've got to tell us if you're staying at Ole Miss or if you're going to go take one of these jobs, because obviously the reports flying around that he had relatives, ex-wife, kids out on private planes looking at places in Gainesville, looking at places in Baton Rouge. All right, checking things out. Obviously not a good look. Obviously not a good look, which is why I have told you all this entire time, the only thing that can derail Ole Miss, and this is really unfortunate for these players who have committed and played really well this year, the distraction is their head coach. The distraction is, where is he going to be the next year? And if I was Ole Miss, I would give him an ultimatum. Now, he has come out and refuted that and said, no, that's absolutely false. But listen, you can refute things based on specific language like an ultimatum, but the sentiment might be there. There probably is something going on behind the scenes where Ole Miss is like, hey, we need to know what's going on. And in true Lane fashion, now the college football world, at least from a coaching perspective, kind of revolves around him. And he loves when things revolve around him. He loves things revolving around him on social media. And he's soaking this in. He's out, doing the circuit and doing all the interviews. And all he needs to do if he wants to stay at Ole Miss is do it. Because everybody else has. Don't you understand? Like, the handwriting is on the wall. Why would he stay there now? Because now there's starting to be animus. Now Ole Miss is starting to be like, come on. What's the deal? I do know Ole Miss will match any offer. So this is not about money. They will match. He's got autonomy there. I'm not saying he has to stay. I'm just saying that I understand why Ole Miss feels this way. And the longer this goes, the longer he does not commit to Ole Miss, the worse that relationship is, and the more likely it is that he leaves. Now you get into this scenario because our calendar in college football is so stupid and broken that we might have a team in Ole Miss qualify for the college football playoff and their coach leaves. What are we doing? What are we doing? Like, can we please fix the calendar? We yell and scream about some of the dumbest things in college football, and the most obvious things to fix are right in front of our eyes. And we're starting to see that come to a head with the Ole Miss Lane Kiffin issue. If he wanted to be there, he would have already said it. We've got Elko with an extension. We've got Cignetti with an extension. We've got Dillingham saying he's staying. We've got Dan Lanning saying he's staying. We've got, who else? Matt Rule with an extension. Like, all these guys have been named and thrown out there. And all you got to do, Lane, is say you're staying. That's all you got to do. And if you don't, more animus is going to pop up, and it's going to be harder and harder to stay the longer this goes. And it's too bad. I don't love this from a calendar perspective. And you know who I don't like it for? I don't really care about all the coaches in this because they're grown-ups. And I care about the players. And you can tell me, well, the players are getting paid and it's all fine. Yeah, but it still sucks. You think about these guys that have committed to Ole Miss, that have gone through it all and tried to put themselves in a position to go compete for a championship. Well, part of that is that they need their play caller, because part of Lane's gift is that he is a great play caller on Saturdays. That team, without Lane Kiffin, not nearly as good. Not nearly as good. So that's kind of how I feel about that. And again, I don't feel either way. He can stay or leave, but I'm just saying this gray area is hurting. It's absolutely hurting. So that's Kiffin and Ole Miss, and again, James Franklin to Virginia Tech. Thank you for listening and watching this program. Remember to go and subscribe on YouTube. We've got all those great products for you. If you have not watched Understanding Football, I really highly suggest it. Invite a friend to do that. You will be a better, smarter football fan when you watch on Saturday and Sunday, by the way. If you watch those videos, specifically that RPO video, it's our latest one. The crew has done a marvelous job. The RPO video is up. That's on YouTube. You can rate and review us wherever you get your podcast. That would obviously help us. And then you can follow us on social media. I very much appreciate you. I can't wait for these games this week. We'll be live in Columbus. Big noon Saturday as Rutgers takes on Ohio State. And then we will be back here on the Joel Klatt Show next Monday, recapping it all. Have a great weekend, everybody.